Welcome to the Coffee Break Show. Have we got a show for you today? You're not going to believe what happened, but of course, I have Isabelle Tierney on with me, so anything can happen. But we got to listen to the music. I'll be right back. I'll see you guys in a second. You're on the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. This is the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vickie Helm. Welcome back to the show, Isabelle Tierney.
Thank you.
I just want to, I'm just going to say it right now. Isabelle here saved my ass. And she did that just at the last minute. Now, everybody knows there's this ginormous hurricane coming into the Florida West Coast. And we also know that there's a lot of people that are still recovering from COVID. So every once in a while, I have a show guest that cannot come on at the last minute. So I'm talking 8 minutes before we go live. And I have some friends on speed dial who have already said to me, you know what? I will go ahead and pop on, and I always know Isabelle will come on because she comes on quarterly for the show. But today it was like a last minute emergency. And I rang her on my bat phone that said her directly. And I was like, Isabelle, can you come on right now? And she dropped everything in a moment's notice, which I want to let you know makes me feel teary-eyed that we have that kind of friendship that I can just go ahead and go, hey, I need you on the show today. But you know what? There are these kinds of stresses that happen in the moment, and you don't know when they're going to happen. And when you do a live show, could I go on live by myself? Yeah, I can do that. I've done a bajillion times.
Yeah.
But today, when I listened in and I listened in the moment of stress, it said, dial Isabelle. So I did. I popped on and did that. And when I won, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the show. And I hope that Jason's on very soon in the future. But as of right now, he's kind of, something came up, and that's what I'll say.
I mean, it was funny. So I am in the middle. I'm on day 8 of this 10-day breakthrough experience that we thought we were going to have maybe 300 to 500 people. There are over 1,000 people who have signed up. And you are one of the reasons so many people have signed up because of your kick-ass show that you did with me and my team. And so this is day 8, and it's a lot, right? We teach in the morning and we teach in the afternoon, and this is my break. And so I'm talking to Eric, who's one of my master facilitators, and I'm like, I see Vickie call on Messenger, and I'm like, oh, she's probably wanting me to know if I'm going to be there next week on the thing, and I'm like, I'm going to ignore it. We're having a sales conversation, and then you called from my phone, and I'm like, okay, Vickie needs something. And it was literally the 1 hour that I have free for the day. I have a call at noon. And it was like this perfect embodiment of what I taught this morning and what you just shared. It's like there are these moments when life brings us an unexpected event. It could be suddenly having to do public speaking in a podcast if you're scared of that. It could be an accident. We don't know. And what makes or breaks that moment, or what can make or break that moment, is how do we show up? And we know this with my work. We call it, you show up from the stress response, or the red zone, or the green zone, or the relaxation response. And you did it. You did the 3 steps. You stopped. I'm not going to act from the red zone. You breathed. You got quiet. And then the solution came to call me. And for me, it was like, oh, okay, do I want to do it? Let me breathe. Of course I do. And when we make decisions from that place of the green zone, it can take 2 seconds.
Yep.
There's so many unexpected things. Who the hell knows what's going to happen on this call? Like, who knows? But I said yes to life bringing something so amazing as getting.
Yeah, it is. It is. One of the things that I think is so important about the work you teach is that a lot of people, when an opportunity comes in their face, it's opportunity isn't always planned. It's not, and even if it is planned, opportunity never goes to and according to the plan. Opportunity is something that is moment to moment to moment to moment. And a lot of people bypass, or they move away from opportunity because they get so scared, or they don't feel good enough, or whatever they tell themselves. And the beauty of the work here is that the reason I use it is that it removes me from the equation in a way where the function of me in the universe can start working in a minute. Now, when you're in the red zone, you can imagine I have a big show. I have a big audience. And I'm just being honest here. We do live shows. And I picked it for a reason, Isabelle, because when I started the show, there was so much marginal fake news that I didn't want a syndicated show. I wanted to be moment to moment. So I'm upfront with everybody. Now, I've gotten to the point where I've had shortness of breath on the show, or I've gotten to the point where I had an allergic reaction to something I ate before I got on the show. I literally live it moment to moment, the work that you teach. Now, have I been in the red zone on the show? In a heartbeat, in an absolute heartbeat. But the point of doing this kind of work is that for me, if I can model it out to the universe and my audience, if I model it when I'm in the red zone, this is actually what happened. I could have got on the show and just pretended that Isabelle was the guest today, and Isabelle was already scheduled, and Isabelle was going to be here this week, and then a couple of weeks. Are you on next week or something like that? You're on in a few weeks. I don't know. You're in the schedule. But and we could have done that. But the truth is, if you want to be transparent, if you really want to build trust with your audience, when it's screwed up, you got to tell them, hey, it's screwed up. And when you're present with your screw up, or you're present with the opportunity or the change, one of the things that happens is you can go from the red zone to the yellow zone to the green zone in a matter of minutes. You have to have this function right now, because you don't know what you don't know. And most of the stuff that comes in, once you go from the red zone to the green zone, always turns into this really cool opportunity. It's this fabulous area. And I want to talk about the gift of stresslessness in your life. When you use the what you call methodology, which is, and for I'm going to have her, I know she's explained it a bajillion times, but I'm going to have her explain it, what the methodology is, because you're like, green zone, red zone, what are we playing? Red light, green light? But the methodology in its simplicity creates stresslessness, creates more productivity, and it creates a responding versus a reacting to things. And when you're running a company, now I'm not going to lie, I have 4 companies right now that I'm running, and I cannot afford to be in a stress zone. And when I am, now I take it as a quick message, get back to the green zone. How do we run it? And if you run 4 companies and you're in the red zone all the time, you're going to go belly up. You need to be a green zone leader, a green zone CEO. And how do we grow that? So, Isabelle, I've talked enough. And what I really want to know right now from you is, hey,
It's one of the things I love about our conversations. It's not like you're not putting it all on me. Like, you and I engage in such a deep, intimate conversations. And guys, for those of you listening live or replay, this is the way Vickie are. Anyway, we don't need to be on this. That's why for me, when Vickie 8 minutes before says, do you want to be on a podcast? I'm like, sure. I have like no fear, because what I know is going to happen is we're just going to have a conversation the way we always do. And we're just not the typical teachers. We're not the teachers that have this like pretty things, this, like the Instagram influencers,
with a pose like this on the side.
Yeah. I don't even know how to pose like an influencer. But what I value more than anything else in the whole world is to really teach the art of marrying our divinity and our humanity.
Absolutely.
And this beautiful quote by Teilhard de Chardin, who says, we're not human beings learning to be spiritual, we're spiritual beings learning to be human. And
absolutely.
I think most spiritual well, no, I'm not going to diss other spiritual teaching. Often we don't talk about that in the spiritual teachings, where we really talk about ascending, right? Elevating ourselves so that we can be these like peace. I talk about humanity. What do you do when 8 minutes before you get a call to be on a podcast? What do you do when you have an accident or somebody you love dies or your husband tells you wants a divorce from you? You know, whoo, I just spilled. You see it? I just spilled. So for example, like a 222.
Brian, there will be no divorces.
And
Just
the
saying right
whole
now.
week, the afternoon talks have been about how people navigate difficult circumstances in the green zone, because we don't say life is going to stop sending you experiences. But what Vickie so beautifully said is she said, do you get to choose how you see the experience? And she even said it. She said, I wanted to own I did a screw up, but then she realized it was a possibility. So if you think about your life, people, do you look at some life events as screw ups, right? Like that shouldn't have happened. Or do you look at them as, oh, but that's what allowed this and this and this and this to unfold in my life? And there isn't one potential, no, there is not one powerful, life-changing life event in my life that I have controlled. Brian, walking into the Tufts University pub when I was 21, meeting the guy I was going to be with the rest of my life. Like life is not controllable. The
That's
one
right.
thing you can control is how you respond to it. And that's the power of this work. And so this work is so simple. I'm going to give myself almost my own competition about how fast I can teach you work. 2 minutes. I'm going to try in 2 minutes. Ready, Vickie?
Go.
Bam. Imagine a triangle that has the colors of the traffic light, red, yellow, green. They are embodiments of our states of consciousness. Red zone is the stress response. It's who we become when we think we are in danger. That's fight, flight, freeze. Green zone is who we become when we think we're safe. Rest, digest, creativity, inspiration, enthusiasm, love, intimacy. Because we believe we're safe, we're capable of the greatest human qualities. My work teaches you in 3 steps to recognize if you're in the red or the yellow zone, to stop, because who you are in the red zone, unless you're in real danger, is going to be distorted, reactive, impulsive, lead to bad decisions, and come back to the green zone by slowing down and breathing, step number 2, and doing a feel-good habit, which is step number 3, to bring yourself back to center. That's it. I think that was less than 2 minutes.
You go, girl. You know, I want to talk about this, the stress response and the things that you teach, because they are simple and yet so extraordinarily powerful. I mean, the power behind learning these techniques, a lot of people can hear them, and there's a difference between hearing them and knowing them and actually putting them into action. When you put them into action, and to me, I rehearsed it. I have to tell you, we've done this for a few years now, and the response right now that I have, where I have quick action, is because I've actually worked with this long enough to make it happen on that automation. So what happens is, when you do this, for me, what I noticed was you take your power back in a way that you don't even know the kind of power you have. The potential that you actually are begins to show up because it has a venue to show up for. It has, and you're the venue. The moment to moment choices that you make either empower you or impair you. We have been taught all the impairment things, the choices that you make. So, what I like about this is not that it just lowers your stress, but it gives you your original power back. And I mean your original before you were polluted with beliefs and systems and things that are there. You get to the point where you understand that you can bypass your mind and come to the most powerful part of you and let that out. Now, what does that do for you? That's the question. She's explaining it so simple. It's 3 simple little steps. But it is not just 3 simple steps that you take that help you lower your stress. They help you come back from wherever you have been displaced your whole life.
Mm,
So, what do I mean by that? I think that every person has an inner genius. I think that every person has a divinity that is more powerful than they can even imagine. And they think that some people have this divinity, but not them. They have to go find it, earn it, look for it. And maybe they look to uh,
the
Eckhart
guru.
Tolle or
Mhm.
some outside source other than being in their own inner source.
Mhm.
Now, the thing is, if it's out there in other people, it's in you. You're a people too. How you access it and learn to access it over and over and over again. This is the joy of using the methodology. It's you deciding to take your power back.
Mm.
And that's it's a gentle, it's not like take your power back. Yeah, it's a gentle way of unleashing your inner genius, your inner beingness. For me, I want to talk about the 10-day challenge because you're, what are you, at day number 8, and there's like over 1,000 people taking it with you right now. There's so many people watching and looking at what you do. And right now, it could seem as though, ooh, I missed it. Dang, that's terrible. But there's got to be something we can do. If somebody's watching right now and says, yeah, I want to learn this methodology, I want to learn this. What can I do? What can we
Well,
do?
it's, because it's you and because it's your
Thank you.
community, we actually close the doors on Sunday at midnight. And then when you and I were talking this morning, I'm like, there's no reason that your community shouldn't come in. We're still going to be open for all the teachings till a week from Sunday. So what is that, like October 7th, I think it is. And
Fantastic.
so I want to say to your community, you have an exclusive invitation to join us. Go to www.thefeelgoodlife.com / what is it?
Breakthrough.
I haven't said it in so
Breakthrough.
long. Is it breakthrough, right? Yeah. So
Hey,
the
will somebody put that up
feelgoodlife.com
on for me so I can throw that up there? Because
/ breakthrough, you'll register. And then we have all the teachings in the Facebook group
yeah,
and the feelgoodlife.com / replay. People can go to that too. The feelgoodlife / replay. All the teachings are there. And it's
fantastic.
really potent stuff. And there's a man, I'm starting a second company where we're going to create an app with this work and bring it to ginormous companies. And so he's doing the challenge because he wanted to check it out.
Nice.
And he said, Isabelle, if I didn't know you better, I would think that you're paying people to give testimonials. He said, I have never seen anything like it, not just from people who are sharing, who've done the work and have said so many things, but even current people who are changing after day 2, day 3. And he was like, if it was somebody else, I would think you were paying them. And I thought that was really funny. So it's sometimes this work seems too good to be true because it actually is
That
that
good.
good, that
It
potent.
is.
And what I realized after these 8 days is that what has come through me, I don't even say what I've created because it's something bigger than that. What has come through me with this teaching is something that actually stops our human race, like you were saying, from reacting and makes us actually have the choice to respond. And if you think about this planet and every
Yeah.
human being on this planet, and you were to give them a tool about how not to react when they're triggered, but to respond, I believe this ends wars. I believe this creates world
Agreed.
peace, even though that sounds so ginormous, but
Yes.
truly in the hands of billions, it can create peace.
It's so interesting that you're putting this. And I want to let everyone know, I know the internet just went down a little bit on my
Oh, is that
side.
what it
Don't
is?
worry about
And
it.
by the way,
It'll be fuzzy and come back.
I
But
have water just leaking from my tea. And
would
I'm
you
trying to
like
figure out
to
how,
set
okay, you know
something?
what? I think I just did it. I took a piece of paper. This
Well,
is
what
what happens when we take risks and then we have fun and then we remember. I spilled my tea. It was all over my desk, but I was still in the green zone because I was having fun with Vickie.
thank
We don't
you.
have to let life circumstances stop us. We
That's
don't have to
right.
blame life for not having an amazing, potent time. Maybe that's part of my teaching.
Well, it's like and I want to talk about this right now, Isabel, because I know a lot of people have they understand the concept of the red, yellow, and green zone. But let's say something happens to you where you're just in shock. Like
Hmm.
perhaps I'm getting some feedback now from your end. I'm not sure where that we're just kind of
I'll
bouncing.
mute until I speak, but I don't know
No,
why.
it may go away in a minute. But let's say right now somebody's in shock. Like perhaps somebody passed away, or they lost a job that they've had for a long time, or maybe somebody did ask them for a divorce and they're absolutely completely in a state of shock, and they kind of want to learn to we have to mute you because I
Okay.
hear me. And there we go, just for a second. And one of the things that happens when people do that is they get shocked into the red zone in such a way that it's not as easy for them to come out into the yellow or green zone. Or you don't know what shock. It could be a car accident, whatever it is. But right now, I'm looking and I'm thinking all the people in Florida right now that are my home. I hope it makes it. I hope it this. Now they're not there. They've left their home. They've left everything that they know and taken just what they've had. It could be a fire, and there's a lot of this. I'm going to call it climate change shock. And it throws them into that red zone, and they're not quite sure how to even go down from that shock. And I'm wondering, what can they do? And I'm wondering also I'm just going to go out on a limb here and ask you if you'd be willing to do a meditation with us. And if people are in that kind of shock right now, if they're listening on their phone to the show in some place where something's happening, if we can just bring it down to a green zone thing. I know I'm putting you on the spot if you
Mm-mm.
felt like that.
No problem. How is my sound?
You sound good.
Okay, great. So I actually have three people right now, two of which are teaching members of my community are in Florida. Two of them out of the three have had to leave and pack away, and they have continually shown up to the challenge,
Wow.
reporting their capacity to stay green even with all of this, because staying green does not mean ignoring anything.
Mhm.
They are trusting in their capacity to stay calm. They're trusting in their capacity not to come up with danger stories, but just to be present
Yes.
in every moment. Like that's one of the things with this work. It develops your capacity to self trust that you will manage yourself no matter the circumstances. And so two of them have had to pack up and go. And then they keep sending us messages or doing lives and saying, still in the green zone because of this work. We don't know what's going to happen next, right? We don't know if we're going to lose our house. We don't know if we don't know. We think we know. We have egoic minds that think that we know the whole trajectory of our
Yes.
life. We don't. So the question is, do you want to spend your life worrying about what might happen, or do you want to be present? Oh, in this moment, I'm packing up all my stuff. In this next moment, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. I don't want to ever underestimate the seriousness of what people are going through, but we don't know how the experience will unfold. And
That's
all
right.
we know is how I'm going to show up through this experience. Will I show up scared? Will I show up worried? Will I show up complaining? Will I show up present? Will I show up open hearted? We don't know. We might save somebody's life because we are so present. Like we don't know.
Yes, that's so true. And
Mhm.
it's interesting when you get to the point where you're trusting the universe. It's like you have to be detached. You can't hang on to everything and try to otherwise all you're doing is living to protect your cocoon. And the cocoon, eventually, whether you crack it or it cracks, eventually there's going to be an outside sort of energy for that comes in and says, well, here's the next step, or here's the next thing that we need to do right now, or being present with that and trusting the universe. A, could you say more about that? And B, how do you trust the universe? What's the process in trusting that? Because this to me is a very conscious, deliberate action.
Gosh, like I say every time I come on the show, you ask me, it's like one of my favorite words is anatomy, right? You ask me to slow down the anatomy of life-changing questions, and I love it because it forces me to think about it. So I'll say two things. Trust in the universe and self-trust are slightly different, right? Self-trust means I trust my capacity that whatever is going to happen in my life, I will be able to stay green zone, present, open, letting myself feel not, I had an eating disorder, many of you know, for 25 years. I have complete self-trust. Like I've been through some really difficult situations the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I never turn towards food anymore. It just, so I have such self-trust that I don't numb anymore, that I'm present to life, that I can navigate whatever. Then there's the trust of the universe. And you said, what does that mean? How do we do that? And it's really interesting. The last few days, I've been exploring that trust of God. And I profess to be the type of human being that listens to God's source, whatever you guys want to call it, right? It's not the religious God. All the time. I get synchronicities. I'm open. I'm amazing. I'm magical. I see angels. And yet, what I'm discovering once again, as I step out of my comfort zone through this breakthrough experience is, wow, there's a part of me that doesn't trust God. Like there's a part of me that believes, that's the ego, that I have to control everything. That
Absolutely.
the outcome of this experience that thousands of people are having is up to me. And if I'm perfect enough, and if I work hard enough, and if I do one more live, and I do one more thing, and one more post, then the experience will be successful. And Deidre, that you read the other day,
I
just
love her.
reminded me of the suffering that is caused when we think we're responsible for the world running right. And the relief, which is not easy to access, that comes when we make the choice to believe there's a benevolent force that's actually got our back. And the last few days in my meditation, every morning, this voice says, let go, God is doing the heavy lifting. Let go, God is doing the heavy lifting. And it's what I'm practicing. I don't have to control the whole universe. I can only control my reaction to the universe. So I don't know if I answered the question enough, but that's what.
Well, I don't know about answering the question for other people, but I needed to hear this really strongly. And I'll tell you why. Because yes, that's it. Thank you very much. This right here. Wow. I could feel my shoulders relax just hearing that. And to me, that's the whole point, Isabelle. It's like when you run for companies, you are responsible. You have clients and this and that and the other, and you think you're the whole show and you've got to show up, blah, 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 blah. And when you get to that point in your life, you can let your ego run off with you, which I can't tell you. When you said that, I was like, oh, I'm so guilty of that. So guilty of that. Or you can believe that something has your back and that they're going to continue having your back. They're not putting something on your back. They are having your back. And I realize that oftentimes I think that it's the universe putting something on my back. And when you said that, I was like, oh, and it's so interesting. I could feel my shoulders relax. Everything just down a little bit. Somehow we think God is wanting us to perform versus co-create with. Like, I'm going to give you this task. Here's your purpose. And if you run with your purpose and you don't get it right, well, you've let me down. And that's not true. That's not the whole point of purpose. And there isn't a single one purpose you're supposed to do. You are
Mm.
purposeful. It's a dance with the divine. It's you being in communion with them. They do stuff for you and you get to do stuff for them. And it's kind of this co-creative process. But inside that zone, what's in, gosh, I can't say this enough. And I want to be so serious out there because I know what it's like to do the hustle and grind thing. I didn't get where I've gotten without a little hustle and grind. And then I stopped. And so I know that in the moment, what the methodology has allowed me to do, and I really am going to say this in a crazy way, so forgive me, I'm going to just say this. It's let me hear the divine. It's not just me hearing me, thinking about me, my, I got this, this, this. It's allowed me to listen to something other than me. And that listening, just the sheer act of listening to something other than you can help you relax. So what is it about you that, in the red zone, I am listening to my chattering mind. In the yellow zone, I'm identifying that I'm listening to my chattering mind. In the green zone, I'm asking for help. And it comes in the form of, and I listen inward. Who should I call?
Hmm.
Who am I supposed to reach out to? And I trust what comes through me. And
Mm.
so I know that when I do this, I'm persistent about that dial because I know eventually I'm going to get a hold of you specifically. And it hasn't been just you. It's like if I have an issue and I have a group of inner circle friends in my head, and it could be business development, it could be a show, it could be about an employee, it could be about anything. I'll go from the, oh my God, what am I going to do? Blah, 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 to the, who am I supposed to get some answers from? Where's the answer coming today? And I'll wait. When I wait for that, when I ask the question, I wait. The answer always comes. I know exactly who to contact, exactly who to get. And 100% of the time, not sometimes, not kind of, it works out. 100% of the time, the answer is there. I know who to call. And I got to tell you something. I told you this before the show, but I don't know if you remembered. I got up this morning out of bed knowing you were going to be on the show today. Even though at the part of the day, Robin said, okay, their executive producers on that side, both of them have said the show, they're going to be there, etc. And I was like, great, the show's on. We got it all perfect, etc. And I was like, a lot of times you're like, well, I think I was wrong on this one. No big deal. So I sat down and I'm like, okay, they're not here. Oh, 5 minutes before they're supposed to be on, they canceled. And I knew right away, because I knew this morning when I got out of bed, that intuition, so to speak, said, oh, I'm going to be talking to Isabelle. And the cool thing about it is, I think I'm interviewing Isabelle, but Isabelle is actually taking a moment right now to unawareingly teach me something about that stress response that I've had. I just listened to her and I was like, oh, I do that. And when my shoulders fell and Robin's shoulders fell, it's that, wait a minute, there is something. You forget that I'm here backing you up, Vickie. I'm not putting it on your back. I'm your backup. And so when I said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's why Isabelle is here. Now just chill out, Vic.
It's so interesting. The work can be taught to different audiences, right? So when I teach it to kids, when I teach it to businesses that don't have any kind of consciousness of the sacred, then it's called the red zone, the green zone, right? Stress response, relaxation response. When I teach it to people who are open to spirituality and to words like God, to source.
Mhm.
What the same scale is actually Dr. Andrew Weil,
I
very
love
famous
him.
doctor, called the relaxation response. I read this years ago, the God response. And I was like,
Yes.
oh, and so then I thought, well, if the green zone is the God response, what's the red zone? And immediately in meditation, the word came and it was the separation response. Because
Yes.
literally, physiologically, when we're in the stress response, the two sides of our brain, the right and left side of our brain, become disconnected. And we literally see the world from a dualistic place: you, me, bad,
Yes.
good. So literally, when you're in the red zone, you can't see unity. You can't see God. You
That's
can't
right.
see Godness, goodness.
Yes.
And then you think of the word response, the God response. So what Vickie was talking about is if she's going to listen from the red zone for an answer, it's going to be a separative response, right? It's going to be
That's
a
correct.
destructive separative response. That's
Mhm.
what wars come from, right? So we're talking about war. When she listens in, when she does the 3 steps, literally God or source or universe or soul, whatever, or intuition, whatever you're comfortable with, is what responds. But we have to set ourselves up to access that. And that's what the methodology does in seconds.
In seconds. And that's the beauty of everything. It's like I want to tell somebody out there, I know there's a lot of stress going on in the world right now, more than ever in history. There are people who feel they're at their last rope. They've lost everything. They feel suicidal. They don't know what to do next. They're in shock. There's the shock response to me. Can we mute you a second so we can sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The Okay, we hang in there. We're almost muted. There we go. Thank you. It's so interesting how this is unfolding in the conversation because I don't think we've ever had this tech issue. And I'm like, it's all interesting. But there's so many people right now that are in the world that we've had back to back hurricanes, and a lot of people are their world has been turned upside down. There are millions of people in other places that have flooding. We're looking at I'm calling it climate shock because we just have a lot of that right now with the heat bombs. And right at any moment when I don't know if anybody's experienced losing everything. I know I have. But losing that everything is so shocking in the beginning when you first get, and I use the pyramid right here because that pyramid that she's talking about, that red zone, is when you're in that shock state. And for me, I don't try to push the shock away. I feel it first and just notice that you're in the stress response. To me, that is a key thing because what happens with the people and why they stay in the stress response is because they don't even realize they're in it and they believe their stress response. They don't think there's anyone there to help them or, oh my God, that there could be something better lying beyond my stress response that, oh, I just lost everything I had and oh God, I'm down to zero. And we don't think there's something better moving forward. We think what we had that's the best thing. We don't know what we don't know. And we tell ourselves terrifying things like, I know that if you lost your house or whatever, there's probably part of you going, I'm homeless. I have nowhere to go. I don't have the da da da. All you can see then is lack in that red zone. When you get to the green zone, and you have to eventually get to the green zone because the green zone is you can't rebuild from the red zone. You can't really rebuild from the yellow zone. We don't know what the experience is going to actually be. We're projecting our thoughts onto the future, we're projecting them. And the reason I think this is so important is because if you understand how powerful you are, which nobody wants to really admit how powerful they are. Everybody loves to admit how bad they are or, lacking they are, but most people don't like to admit this is how powerful I am, that my words matter, that there's an energy that I think that creates my reality. And that moment to moment, I'm creating my reality, either in a red zone reality or in a green zone reality. And there's way more abundance in the green zone reality. In the red zone reality, you'll still get abundance, but you'll get abundance of red zone. It's that, if you know how the law of attraction works, right? So that you bring in, I start every morning now naming my green zone. I get out of the bed every single morning and I say, good things are happening to me today. Good things are happening to me today. I force my mind that wants to loves the red zone to come down in the green zone and look for the good things that are happening to you today. Now, I want to talk about somebody in the beginning right now who's
Wait, I want to actually add to that, and hopefully
you
you
go.
can hear me okay.
Yep.
So in the red zone, when I understood this, I was blown away. What happens is we have this thing called the negativity bias.
Mm-hmm.
So think about being a cave person, right? Our brain is that old, our limbic brain, our fight or flight freeze brain. And you go out of your cave. And, hundreds of thousands of years ago, there were horrible, there were dangerous animals, there were dangerous tribes. It was a very dangerous place. So your brain was wired to look for what was wrong in your environment, right? Am I seeing a shadow behind this bush? Am I seeing, is this berry, right? Do I remember that this berry could kill me? So we are wired, and you said it so beautifully, my brain is wired, habituated to look for what's wrong. That's the red zone. So if you wake up every morning or you walk throughout your day like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? You're just perpetuating an old, hundreds of thousands years old evolutionary need. So to wire yourself now to look for what's right, to state your commitment to seeing what's right, to welcoming that's right, is revolutionary. You're literally changing our evolution as human beings for humankind. But I just want to give you patience and compassion. The reason you look for what's wrong is because you're wired for that. And Marianne Williamson, in her seminal book, A Return to Love, she called the ego the great fault finder. The red zone is the great fault finder. The green zone is the great what's right finder. So that's going to be one of the ways you can track, am I in green zone or red zone?
Yes.
Am I looking for what's wrong or am I looking for what's right?
And that's the key turnaround spot right there. And I remember making this decision a long time ago that I was never going to continue looking for what was bad in a person or what was bad in the world. Now, it doesn't mean I suddenly get Pollyanna thinking where, that's not what's there. But you make a decision in your thinking. And this is really true, Isabelle. I'm going to reiterate this again. Thoughts can only do two things. That's it. They can only do two things. They can either impair your abilities or empower your abilities, and you get to choose. And that impairing is the red zone, and that empowering is the green zone. And once I decided that I was going to make the changes now in how I viewed the world and how I viewed people, you realize your perspective is something that you can look at and own. So
And
for me, change. I get up every morning. It's the stupidest little sentence. Good things are happening to me today. Good things are happening to me today. I say it throughout the day. Good things are happening to me today. I'm allowing my mind to choose to look for the good things that are happening today. Yes, you can look at all the calamity because that is what they put in front of you 24/7. And you still have a choice to be in the green zone. You can say calamities all around me, but good things are happening to me today. Good things are happening to me right now. Even if I'm talking to Isabelle, I'm like, my lungs, it's so easy for me to breathe. I have no pain in my lungs. Oh God, that's so great to be able to take a refreshing deep breath of air just and feel that go with ease. And my heart is just it's going, and look at how beautiful it is. I will look over and over and over and over again. You've been trained to look at this deteriorating falsity and the red zone. You've been trained to look and live in the red zone. And the only way that success can happen is if you decide to say, you know what, I got to take my power back. I want to live and be in the green zone. And the green zone is so fucking powerful that you should never be without the tool. I'm serious here. Don't you want to know what your worth is, your true potential is before you die? Don't you want to know who you actually are, not what they keep focusing you on? And I want to let you know, in the over 550 shows, I've never used the F word. This is the only time, and the only time I will. But I'm getting to the point where I realize that the propaganda machine creates red zone everything. They don't create green zone things, and they do it for a reason. You become your most powerful you with the most potential you and the most peaceful you, the most joyful you, the most empowered you in the green zone. And to take that power back, that's freedom. It's the first freedom you need so that you can even have financial freedom, so that you can have emotional freedom, so that you can have spiritual freedom, so that you can even have time freedom, so that you can have social freedom. If you want freedom, that first thing you have to free is you. And so I'm looking at that from here and I'm thinking, it's a free challenge. You're not paying anything to get this amazingness from her, to learn how to take your power back in this way, to learn how to align with your divinity consistently, to take your power back from you. This is a free deal. Free 10-day challenge. And it's at the feelgoodlife.com/breakthrough.
Yeah. And there's a word that came. First of all, I remember, I'm just realizing this. I woke up this morning and I thought about you. And I thought about the interview that you did with Philip, Eric, and Deidre, who are my master facilitators.
Yeah, I love them.
And it is my favorite interview I think I've ever done.
Thank you.
And I remember this morning thinking, God, I wonder if I should share that in my breakthrough experience group.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, God, the whole time we're talking about the upcoming breakthrough experience. I'm like, they don't want to see that, right? Because they're already in it.
Yeah.
And you know what? 2 hours later, you invite me so that we can do a new one. And this one, I'm so excited to share with
Thank
this
you.
community because, yes, we're still inviting people in, but the focus isn't that. The focus is on developing freedom. And it was so beautiful what you said. And then the second thing I want to say, you know, the word self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
Each zone is its own self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely. There's no other way it could be.
There's no other way.
That's right.
Do you want to live? Like, I promise you, we call it the red zone lens or the green zone lens. When you see the world from the red zone, it's constricted, right? Separation response, it's narrow focus. You will literally create a world, a self-fulfilling prophecy of more red zone. If you do it from the green zone, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, more green zone. That's why the work isn't just about changing you in the moment and giving you that freedom. It
changes your life.
It changes your freaking future.
Yeah.
So God, you know, and Vickie, what I love about you so much is, you know, people always say, but this work is so simple. I had no understanding that it could be that deep. You have such a deep understanding, like that this work is infinitely deep. It will never stop working when we use it and changing our life. It's just so outwardly simple. People don't take it seriously until they do, and then they stay in it forever.
You know, it's such a foundational piece of entering into the divinity. I don't know how to say this, but it is when your divinity and your humanity infuse together. They kind of braid themselves together in such a way that allows you to realize the purpose of why you're here on earth. And people want to find a sense of meaning. They want to find a sense of purpose. They want to find some sort of something that feels fulfilling to them. And a lot of times we look outside for that. Maybe if I get that other degree, maybe if I become an influencer, maybe if I'm a millionaire, maybe if I buy this house and car and things and everything else. And the beauty of looking at the work, the beauty of that is that no matter where you are in the moment, there is an emanating when you do the work, the methodology. And if you're with Isabelle right now, you stay with her. This if you're thinking, how am I gonna, this is the place, you stay right where you are. You do the work. But in this moment, when we take a look at our own inner power, you can just, everybody can look right now. And I just want you to stop staring at me for a moment and just look at Isabelle and feel her for a minute. And you're going to see someone who is this way when she's going into surgery, when she's broken her toe and is walking on it for 2 months, when whatever hellfire hits the ground. And now it's to the point where when it does hit, she's like, I wonder why this is here. I wonder what this is serving. I wonder what's underneath there. That kind of curiosity, that kind of brilliance is the kind of life that everybody wants to have. So how can I say this? You can make a lot of money and become a millionaire and lose it. I know because I've been there. I have built big successful companies and watched them go belly up or sold them or moved them. Each and every single moment to moment to moment, what you're truly looking for is peace and being grounded in your world moment to moment. I just saw another entrepreneur, friend of mine, who put out, he typed in a post. He goes, uh, it's not, you want to be an entrepreneur, not because you're going to be a millionaire, billionaire, influencer, that. He said, you want to learn how to do this so that you have peace, that you just have peace with whatever's here in the moment. And that is big work right there for me. I know that having peace in the moment with whatever is here, whatever is in front of me, if I can stay in that green zone, then I can find the gem. I find the path through it, or I wait. Like, who are you going to send me today? Who's the person I'm supposed to talk to? What do you want me to know? These are questions I ask the green zone. What do you want me to know? What would you like me to wait for? What decision is here? I ask the question now. I don't argue with it. I integrate and braid myself. You're infused with it so that everything that looks like crap turns into just a piece of gold somewhere.
Oh, I that quote from the entrepreneur, it's so unusual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we sell entrepreneurship or high corporate things as, the money, the
Yeah.
success that you were
It's
talking
like
about.
this
Can you
sexy life.
imagine if you entered on, if you knew from the beginning that your highest value as you built your business was peace? It's interesting. This woman, Deborah, yesterday was saying, I'm struggling because what I've realized is the hustle and grind made me so miserable. But she said, but I have such a big purpose in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to do it without the hustle and grind. And
Yeah.
this is something you and I work at 24/7, right?
Yep.
It is easy to get kidnapped when we have 4 businesses. I
Totally.
have 3 like us, to get kidnapped by the red zone, to find ourselves so self-important, that we have to be everywhere all the time. And it's working 16 hours a day. There's a culture of praising and valuing that. And to choose that your highest value as you build your business, as you climb the corporate ladder, whatever it is for you, are the best mother, is peace. I mean, I want to find this person and I want to freaking bow to them and say, that is what we're talking about in this work. We
It
are talking
totally
about
is.
that.
It
And it's
totally is
freaking
because
hard sometimes. Like when you have big purpose, when you have a big soul that wants to do big things, to not get kidnapped by the hustle and
Yes.
grind
Yes.
it's like being an Olympic athlete. That's
Yes.
how much you have to practice this work.
Yes, and I know I'm gonna just what you said is it's so important, and I want to close that show in this vein of what you've just talked about, because a lot of people keep asking me over and over and over, how did you achieve your level of success? How did you write 41 books? How did you do this? 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 And I'm telling them the same thing over and over and over and over again. I will tell you this. I do not start a business that the divine hasn't told me to start now. I do not write a book on a topic that the divine doesn't tell me to write. I don't even do a show topic that the divine, if I'm not feeling it, I'm like, yeah, we're out. This isn't going to air, or this isn't going to go anywhere. There isn't a point in my success that the divine isn't infused. And to think now, are there the hustle and grind pieces? I don't hustle and grind anymore at all. And what I want to do is say, in my mind, everybody says, you have to have a servant kind of leadership. Okay, great. Who are you serving? If you serve the divine 100% of the time, you're serving the whole. And you don't have a purpose. I got to go find my purpose. You become purposeful. And purposeful is moment to moment to moment of being in that green zone, moment to moment to moment. And I want to say that I mean this. I know that I could be biased because we have been friends for a couple of decades now and then some. Uh, but I really want to speak truthfully. In my opinion, right now, there is nobody that I know that it is better at helping you achieve the peace that you're looking for, whether it's peace through money or peace through celebrity or peace through whatever. There's no other person on the planet right now that I think is more qualified to take you into that peaceful world and grow it than Isabelle. Now, I need you to listen to me. I know there's Dean Garziozi's. I know there's Tony Robbins. I know there's Byron Katie's. I know there is Eckhart Tolle's. I know there's Vickie Helms. I know that these people on the planet are doing good work. And the kind of work that Isabelle is doing is the foundational, it's the most important foundational piece of work. Before you can ingest anything else, this piece has to be there. I know this because I had the breech birth. I had all of these things first without the foundational piece till later when she developed it. So I know that in order to take advantage of something, it's kind of like there's an order to some things. And what we have to first do is meet us. Meet us first. It's great that you know a lot of stuff, or it's great that there's some stuff that people teach you that give you an aha moment. But if you can't access it in you, if you can't access you, you can't have what you know. And this is the point I'm trying to tell you. If you haven't signed up right now, I need you to stop fretting and just go to the feelgoodlife.com/breakthrough.
You know what? I just realized it's thefeelgoodlife.com,
The
Robin.
Feel Good Life.
Thefeelgoodlife.com/breakthrough.
The Feel Good
I'm
Life.
glad I just saw that. So it's
Thank God you just saw
thefeelgoodlife.com.
that. Yes, let's go with the feelgoodlife.com breakthrough. And if you have any sense in you right now that says, I have to work with Isabelle, you're right. Do it. thefeelgoodlife.com/breakthrough. There it is. I'm going to put it on the screen right here.
Thank you.
Isabelle, I love you to death and I want to respect
That's
your time.
obvious.
I
I
do,
mean, I
absolutely.
can't believe, well, I can. You see, just catching words. I can't believe what you just shared, just showed, right? The part of me that has doubt or predictions. I can believe because it just
Yes, you can.
happened. That was
Yep.
reality.
Mhm.
And I thank you. You are astounding to me. And I know you and I have known each other and we've known how deeply to go into our wounds and into our strength and into our light. So I trust every word you say. So when you say you trust every word I say, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a
Thank
big
you.
deal. You're
It's a
really
big
good at
deal.
what you do. You are it's beyond a zone of genius. It's your zone of divinity.
Ooh.
All right,
Ooh.
babies,
All
we
right,
got to go because I
everybody.
promised her I'd be off at noon, and I love you to death. Welcome to the Coffee Break Show again, and I will see you next week when we have somebody really cool on. All right, bye.